Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, obviously this is a Q&A video. First of all, thank you so much for posting all of your questions. If you do want to take part in this Q&A, definitely go follow the Discord. The server name is Appetite for the Dead. The link is in the description of this video. And also, if you haven't followed the podcast yet, we are on YouTube. The podcast name is Empty Minds Podcast. We're actually going to be doing some really cool Halloween stuff very soon. So, well, not very soon, actually. I think we're just going to be recording it pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I guess this Saturday we'll probably start with a lot of the Halloween stuff because obviously we film about a week in advance. And so, yeah, we'll have to do some Halloween stuff here for October. And then we'll get into some like holiday stuff and whatnot there. So definitely go subscribe to the podcast. It's just on YouTube. We are on Spotify and Apple Music and wherever you get your podcasts and all that. Again, I'll leave a link in the description of this video if you are interested in checking it out. But let's get into the first question here. So Q&A, what did you think of episode 3 and what are you expecting for episode 4? Well, episode 3, I liked a lot. I would say out of the 3, it's the weakest one. And I'm not saying that in like a negative way or anything like that, because obviously it's still a really great episode. I loved, the Doors reference. I think any sort of reference to Jim Morrison is just absolutely amazing, especially on The Walking Dead. Like The Walking Dead is obviously a show I love so much. And the fact that it's referencing stuff that I also really love, like I love music so much. Like music is just something to me that is just so important, like obviously it's helped me so much throughout my life, and just like anything from like the 60s, 70s and 80s and whatnot, or just any kind of reference to that, like anything, it's just absolutely incredible. So it was so cool to see a reference to Jim Morrison, and like I can't believe it, like Daryl just saw Jim Morrison's grave, like as if that's a thing on The Walking Dead, right? Like that's just so cool to me. But the overall episode I thought was good. In terms of expectations for episode 4, I don't really know. I think 5 and 6 are going to be really great based off of early reviewers. They were saying 6 and 5 are both really good episodes. 6 is like the best one of the season. 5 is like the second best kind of thing. At least that's sort of what they were saying. So episode 4, based off the trailer, it didn't seem that exciting, but there was some stuff that seems to hint that we could end the episode in a way where Daryl's captured. And it's sort of a cliffhanger for 5 and 6. And, it could be a lot of setup as to why those 2 episodes are really good. So I'm interested, obviously, and I'm excited for episode 4. I can't wait for Sunday. It's Wednesday right now, so we're basically only halfway through the week. I will say that's one of the things about the episodes releasing Sundays now, is it makes the week so just dreadful having to wait for each episode. Because when it would release Thursdays, it was like, I don't know, like we would watch it Thursdays, but then the episode would release on Sunday still. And so a lot of people would still watch it Sundays. And then once it was Monday, it kind of felt like we were just waiting for the next episode, but obviously it would be coming out that Thursday instead of Sunday. So it wasn't that long of a wait. Now it's like we got to wait all the way until Sunday. So it's it's a little brutal, but obviously I do prefer it this way. It does create a little bit more excitement. But Q&A, since we kind of know Genet had a part in the creation of the burners and other variants, do you think she made them specifically to deal with outside groups like the CRM and the Commonwealth that have soldiers with walker-proof armor? Example, a Commonwealth soldier fighting a burner thinking they're just safe to have the plastic armor melt. Just some food for thought, #walker warfare. Well, I don't know if I could see that. Like, I don't know if she has any knowledge of the Commonwealth. I mean, I guess now she technically does, right? Because she heard that tape from Daryl. I don't know if she has any knowledge of them. I feel like she does have knowledge of the Civic Republic, though, for sure. I think that's where we're sort of going with the story. And I really do think that's probably why she's doing that. Like, in terms of trying to control the dead and create like this walker army almost, like, because they're trying to create walkers and use them as weapons, right? So I could see that, like having stronger walkers where you're able to control them and have them on your side is really, really incredible. It's really amazing to think that, if you just do that, you could be just very, very powerful in the world, right? And so I think that is why they're doing what they're doing. And obviously the Civic Republic, they're going to be made aware of that unless they're already made aware of that. Like I know that they are aware of each other for sure. If there's ships going back and forth, if you are the CRM, if you're the military, you're going to be aware that there's ships going back and forth from America to France, right? Like you're going to be so aware of that. And in terms of what it contains, you're also going to know, like you're going to at some point have knowledge, you might have sent somebody to go check it out. Like you're going to know what is happening. The same thing with France and all that, right? Like there's a reason why there's a lot of research there. There's a reason why Daryl was on that ship, and I think a lot of that's going to be revealed soon. It's so that's why I think she wants more power. She's aware of those other other entities like the CRM, right? And so I think that's why she's like, yeah, you know what? We need to be stronger than them, and we need to be able to have, I guess, more power kind of thing, right? Q&A, if you had to rate every episode so far from 1 to 10, what would you rate them? Oh, that's a really, really good one. So episode 1, I would rate 10 out of 10, easily. Episode 1 was such a phenomenal episode. Episode 2, I almost would want to rate it 10 out of 10 as well. Maybe like a 9.8, 9.7 out of 10. Like I guess I do prefer the premiere over episode 2 overall. Like episode 2 obviously was still a really great episode. A lot of the stuff with Isabel and just everything else was very, very amazing. But it was just, again, I guess I overall kind of prefer the premiere. So I guess in that sense, or just based off of that logic, I would have to rate episode 2 a little bit lower. And then episode 3, I guess maybe an 8 or 9 out of 10, I'd probably have to rate it. Like, I liked the episode. There was a lot of really cool moments in it, obviously, but it wasn't really the strongest episode because I think just, in terms of what they had to do for overall in this story. Like, again, I don't really have any criticisms about it. It's more of just a general feeling I have about the episodes. Like, I don't really like rating things out of 10 anyways, because I think when you rate it out of 10, then everything you rate is sort of compared to that now. Because, like, I rated episode 1 10 out of 10. So that means everything else, I would have to do it compared to that one episode, right? And how I rated that. And it's hard to do that because, like, again, I might feel so differently after the series is over. I might look back and be like, okay, episode 1 was pretty good, but episode 2, when it showed that and foreshadowed this, now I really prefer that episode more, right? So it's kind of hard for me to give a rating, but as of now, if I had to answer, I would probably rank it as, like, from best to worst. It would be like episode 1, 2, 3, basically. Q&A, could you see them killing off Carol a few seasons after she returns to the Daryl show? It seems more probable since they had plans to kill her off a few times between season 9 and to 11. Well, I never heard of the plans to kill her off, but I could totally see them killing Carol off, yes. Like, I mean, a lot of the main characters, like, first of all, not in the first or second seasons, not in the next couple of seasons. Like, if you're going into the last season or 2 of the Daryl show, or if they're all going to reunite and, be together in, like, The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live in the final season for that show, I could see them killing off Carol then. Like, it's going to be one of those things where I could see them for sure killing off these characters, but it's just, I think it's going to be a bit, I think that's what's kind of exciting about the spinoffs, and, the next 4 or 5 years of these characters are really going to be the last, I guess, with a lot of them. And I imagine 5 years from now, 2 of the main characters, like out of Rick, Michonne, Carol, Daryl, Maggie, and Negan, 2 of them will be gone, I imagine, in 5 years from now. So, we'll have to wait and see who, but yeah, I mean, Carol, I guess, like, if it's like the final season or something like that and they're ending the whole story here, I mean, any character can die, and I would include Carol in that as well. Q&A, what are your thoughts on the theory that the Daryl show is going to end with Daryl and Isabel ending up together, and her and Laurent come back to America with Daryl, finally reuniting with Rick? I mean, I guess I could see that happening. I really feel like it's kind of hard to say, in terms of, like, Isabel and all of that, because I feel like with Isabel, it almost seems like she's starting to feel something for Daryl a little bit, but does Daryl feel the same way? And that's also one of those things as well, where when it comes to stuff with Daryl and who he ends up with, it is just so toxic online that I just really do not like discussing it, because it's just like, and it is just one of those things where it is just what it is, whoever Daryl ends up with, it doesn't really bother me at all. I don't care at all. Like, I really do not care. If it ends up being Isabel, cool. Like, I'm totally cool with that as well. But I don't know, for me personally, the way I see Daryl's story ending is, I really feel like, and this is sort of, I guess, did I make a note of this? I really want to do a video on this. Actually, I just made a note of it, but I just noticed that I already did make a note to do a video on this. But I really feel like after the whole, thing is over with the Civic Republic and all that, say Daryl and everyone comes back from France, they're on The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, and that show sort of ends. I really feel like the way the story is going to end is Rick is probably not going to die. I think he'll be alive, and he'll just sort of end his story, happily ever after. I think Daryl's going to say goodbye to everybody, because I think Daryl's going to realize that his home is in France. And I think that's the one thing that the show is going to sort of really get into, is this is a place that Daryl could actually spend the rest of his life. And I think Daryl is, it'll be really crazy, but I really feel like it's going to be one of those things where Daryl basically goes on a ship and he's just sort of waving goodbye to everybody. And that's it. You know, Daryl's gone at that point, right? And obviously just sort of living out the rest of his days in France kind of thing. And it'll be a very sad moment, but that's kind of where I see the story going for Daryl in the end. And I think it would be amazing, you know, if he found his happy place and that was something that, you know, he was very, very passionate about and he wanted to be there, because Daryl's always sort of felt very lost as a character. He's never really had a home. Like, even with Alexandria and all that, like, is it even his home? Like, he even stayed at the hilltop for a little bit. Like, he's just kind of everywhere. He even stayed away from those places for so long and lived out in the woods trying to find Rick. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, he doesn't really have a home. And so I wonder if France, you know, him being here, if he's actually finding something. It could get really interesting over the next little bit, right? But yeah, Q&A, what do you think is more likely for how Carol shows up in the show? A, she's coming to France on a boat alone. B, she will show up with Commonwealth soldiers. C, she was a prisoner on the same boat as Daryl, but he managed to escape and she's already in France. Well, for C, I did suggest that already. I did talk about that. I really feel like all three options are possible. Like, there's not one I can't really pick that's more likely. She's coming to France on a boat alone. Like, that's also possible. That could be one of those things where she just went on a ship and then just got there, right? Because there's ships going in and out of France all the time. So Carol could do the same exact thing as Daryl, right? So I could see Carol just doing that. Or B, she shows up with Commonwealth soldiers. That's also possible because maybe, you know, she went out there to go look for Daryl, and so she got Commonwealth soldiers to come with her. It's basically the same thing as option A, but she's with some Commonwealth soldiers. I mean, that's also very possible. C, she was a prisoner on the same boat. This one here is almost more likely in the sense that it just makes more sense in terms of realism, right? Like, how many boats are going to be going back and forth, right? So, like, it just almost makes sense that Carol would be on the same one with Daryl and that they got separated at some point, and that's something that we're going to learn in, like, episode 5 or 6 or something, right? So, any of the options I think work, but, yeah, I know I'm not really picking one here, but if I had to say something, I guess I'll just go with C because I already said it and I have to commit. Q&A, which country do you like to see in The Walking Dead in a spinoff? So which country would I like to see in The Walking Dead? Well, I would like to see... what country would I like to see? I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm just really enjoying France. Like, I think before France, I would have just said somewhere in Europe, but like now we're getting France, so I'm just like, I'm kind of happy with this right now. Like, this is really cool to start to see a lot more of, you know, this side of the world. So as of now, I think I would just say that. Q&A, does the Commonwealth still have a big part to play in the universe? Are they the endgame civilization and become the new superpower by the end? I actually don't think so. I think the Civic Republic is going to be the main sort of force in everything here and will be like the main superpower by the end. I think that the Civic Republic is a very good place. I think that the military are the ones that are bad, and I think that they just got to get those people out. And I think whoever can lead, you know, from that point on would just be, you know, an amazing leader, this and that. And I think the Civic Republic could be a really, really good place. And I think that's sort of where they're going now with the story. So I would say the Civic Republic, but I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.